So today it's a challenge. You are currently behind the scenes before I unbox the Samsung Galaxy Tab S9. And you might have already seen that video, but what you don't know as you're watching that video is I'm actually embarking on a whole new challenge of using only Samsung Android products for the next 30 days. You can see here, the watch, the buds, and a phone. I will get rid of all of my Apple stuff and only use Android or Windows products for the next month. So what could possibly go wrong? Dang, I can't believe it's been 30 days already. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess. Yes, over the past month, I used only Android or Windows products. Specifically, those Android products were Samsung Android products, so I'm sure there is some Samsung-specific nuances that I might assume are Android as a whole, but I'll trust the sharper experts out there to let me know where I got it wrong in the comments. The first question I can hear from everybody on the internet is, well, Gary, how was it? Okay, I've been really excited to talk about this part since I decided to do this challenge. It went a lot better than I thought it would. The last time I'd really used an Android phone for any length of time was about 5 years ago, before there was really even what you could call an ecosystem. This time around, I really only had a few problems comparing one system to another, and we'll absolutely get to those as we progress today. The way I want to structure this video, though, is I want to talk about, I guess you'd call them phases of ownership. Yes, we'll talk about specific pieces and parts that I used, but I really want to focus on the overall system. The system that I am talking about is the Z Flip 5, the Galaxy Watch 6, the Galaxy Buds, and then the Galaxy Tab S9. If you want to see more in-depth information on those specific parts, I do have dedicated videos for those. So the first part, and the part that I was most nervous about, was the initial setup. I'm so used to adding one or two things to my Apple ID and just having it work. So I assumed there would be a lot more friction here to get the watch, phone, tablet, and headphones all to work. But it was actually great. Setup took about 30 minutes across everything, and it only took that long because I needed to figure out what account I wanted to use across all of these. Much like Apple, your Android operating system, well, again, Samsung operating system, will be based on your Google account and Samsung account, which can be tied together. Once you have those two established on startup of each device, you pair them all together so quickly and they get really seamlessly functioning. One thing that is novel to Android vice Apple, and something that I really want to say up front, and I'll do my best not to talk about it constantly throughout the video because it's really important, is Samsung has a dedicated wearables app that you use for the headphones and the watch. Apple doesn't have this. Yes, there is an Apple Watch app and it's fine, but it's not the same. What makes the wearable app so good, in my opinion, is it has control over both the watch, but also, yes, the headphones. Look, I really like AirPods. I've made several videos over the years about AirPods, but while they can be the most seamless and easy to use headphones that I've ever seen, on the other hand, they can be the single most frustrating piece of technology ever. Sometimes they straight up just don't want to work. Or I'll get one pod to connect, but the other won't, and I'll have to fiddle around with my phone for legitimately 5 to 10 minutes before I can use them. I haven't had the same issue or experience with these Samsung headphones, and I think that's because of the dedicated app. I don't have to fiddle around with Bluetooth menus or trying to see battery count through like a battery widget. When there is a problem, it's just so much faster to correct. Hey, so for example, like right now, like right this second, I'm getting ready to go mow my yard, but my AirPods have decided to not work. Or maybe they've just decided to work all of a sudden as I see them connected here. The thing is, they can be either the easiest to use or the most frustrating. And I have not had that same experience with the Samsung Buds, which I'm switching so that I can go mow. So like, I'm telling you, it happens more often than you'd think. So setup and underlying functionality were just as smooth and, in some cases, better than my Apple ecosystem. But what about the next phase? What about communicating with family or coworkers? How does the Android system handle that? Well, it's fine, mostly. The actual physical act of texting or messaging family or those coworkers is so similar for the end user that you wouldn't notice a difference. If you have a preferred messaging app, be that Facebook Messenger, Teams, WhatsApp, etc., etc., you won't notice a difference at all because all app stores have essentially the same products in them. I even now really liked being able to text from my Windows computer. And if you didn't know that, this was kind of new to me, you can now set it up very similarly to how I mainly text from my MacBook. It is a separate app you pair with your phone, but then you do it and boom, you are texting like a pro while playing too much of the WoW Classic Hardcore Challenge. Seriously, save me. This specific use case was a real big chunk of why I never considered swapping before. It sounds like a small thing, but I send most of my text messages from my computer. Like, I don't always pop up my phone to text my wife throughout the day. I'll just text her. The only real two outliers that I want to mention come in if you want to use standard Apple type products. Obviously, you can't FaceTime between the Z Flip 5 and an iPhone. In my family, we never found that to be too much of a hassle because Google Video Chat was so easy and ubiquitous across all of our devices and accounts. It was just really easy to set up and then start video chatting. However, the big one, and the one that gets all the attention, is iMessage. This one absolutely sucks, and Apple totally has a monopoly on messaging, at least in the US market. And it's not anything as complex as messaging types, backend encryption, or anything else that tech nerds like to talk about. Maybe there is a green bubble problem depending on your social situation and age bracket that maybe I guess you would have to come, but the real practical problem that I ran into over the past month was I would routinely break Apple group messages. You'll have to go out and look at your own social circle, but most of the folks in mine all have Apple phones. Anytime I tried to get back in the know and start chatting in the group messages, I would break them or cause wonkiness between friends and family pretty consistently. This is the one thing that you can't replicate or work around, and that we have such a discrepancy between basic functionality is awful. I know this is mainly a US thing. Like I said earlier, other messaging apps are fine, but for the regular messaging app gang, this is probably the deal breaker. All right, Gary, so what else did you do with the ecosystem over the past month? Well, random person on the internet, I also continued my 6 days a week running, and I have to say for fitness, I vastly prefer this specific ecosystem that I've built. It's not even close. The Galaxy Watch 6 is amazing, and I love it. Hyperbole aside, it might be my favorite smartwatch of all time. I love the look, I love the feel, and I really like the Samsung Fitness app. Plus, like I said in the Z Flip 5 video, I've continued to clasp my phone to my running shorts so that I've got full phone functionality without having to hold it, which I cannot overstate how good that is for me. I hope I'm not peaking the audio, getting too excited. I hate holding things when I'm running, and running with my iPhone 14 Pro Max is an absolute slice of misery. The watch with the phone clipped to the shorts is so clutch, and that alone is making me seriously consider sticking with this setup when the experiment is over. If there is one thing I didn't like as much from the fitness perspective, I don't like the form of the Samsung Buds 2 all that much. The sound quality is great. The noise cancellation is okay. It's not as good as the AirPods Pro 2, but it's pretty good. But when I'm running, sometimes the headphones will start to move around in my ear. But because of the shape, it's kind of hard to like reseat them and get them back into a comfortable position. They register me tapping them an awful lot, so I'll stop my audio, skip to the next video, mess with the noise cancellation, all sorts of things. While AirPods can look kind of goofy, that little outcropping on it makes it very easy to manipulate while out and about. I've also gone on some big hikes with this Android system, and it works fine there as well. I do wish there was an All Trails app for the Galaxy Watch because I've become very accustomed to using it on my Apple Watch, but it's not there. It's also not a deal breaker. For productivity work, which is another phase of my life, we come to a much closer call. This one is kind of tough because if you can live off of a tablet, the Android system is far better. Again, it's not even close. This Tab S9 is so good. It has been my consistent work companion for the past month, and it does everything that I need from a laptop. I have this in DeX mode 90% of the time, and I just end up treating this like a super portable laptop. No, you can't airdrop between devices. Samsung does have something similar that is fine, but it's kind of janky in practice. I ended up just using Google Drive to swap between devices, and it was almost as fast as airdrop, and it was nice having a cloud backup at the same time. I've also been plugging the Tab into monitors as a computer, and it shocks me every time just how powerful and useful of a machine that this little tablet is. Seriously, if you aren't a gamer or a video creator, I wouldn't even recommend a quote-unquote traditional computer anymore. Using the Z Flip as a little standing webcam has gotten surprisingly a lot of use in the past couple of weeks. Having a camera that I just pop down without needing any other accessory or stand, by the way, it's there as the camera, and I take all my notes on my tab. This has been, it's just been so awesome. Notifications and scheduling from the Galaxy Watch between all three devices has also been great. I mean, smartwatches of all kind do that thing anymore, but I really prefer the circular shape and the design of the Galaxy Watch to any of my Apple Watches. All the screens have been amazing, responsive, battery life is usable across the board, and charging has not been a chore at all. Speaking of charging, I've even swapped out my regular dual USB-C Apple charger for a 3-port Samsung fast charger, and legitimately, I'll be keeping this with me forever now. I don't like the design as much. If you've got to carry a charger around, the more ports, the better. And having a USB-A at the same time really helps with some of my older accessories. However, if you do need an actual laptop, that's where Apple comes back swinging. I think the Galaxy Tab S9 is the best tablet I've ever used, and you don't really need a computer because if you have it. However, Windows laptops just cannot compete with MacBooks. I wish that wasn't the case because I much rather have competition in the marketplace, but in actual useful laptop world, Apple right now is on top and nothing else can compete. Gaming wise, I've pretty much just been throwing days of my life into my Dwarf Priest on the Hardcore WoW challenge, which means I have to use my custom gaming PC, but that shouldn't be much of a surprise as I've never recommended Mac computers to gamers. But at the end of the day and the end of this experiment, will I be swapping over totally to the Android system? Probably not. Now, I'm not planning on going cold turkey as soon as this video goes live. I'm not just throwing all this stuff away tomorrow, but I will probably migrate back to Apple for two main reasons. One, iMessage. I use regular chat apps, and I'm sick of breaking group messages. This is absolutely a monopolistic thing, and I hope Apple either comes around to or is made to come around to opening this up. I shouldn't have friction added to my basic family communication because of the specific phone I ended up buying. The second reason is because my whole family has iPhones, and we use the family account sharing stuff all the time. My 11-year-old can request additional phone time through a very easily accessible app. We share some subscriptions together through our Apple IDs, and as a creature of convenience, I'll probably just want to be able to do that stuff easily again. But I've been very impressed with this Android ecosystem. It's come so far in the past 5 years that I think it's as good and better in some ways than what Apple does. I really thought I was going to hate this past month and have to scrap the video halfway through because I couldn't make it. And here I am, we're making the final video, and I'm not really ready to switch back immediately at the end of this. I gotta say, I think that's a solid win. What about you? Have you gone back and forth between the two systems? If so, let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And click here if you want to see more specific videos for deep dives on some of these devices. Click. Thanks for watching.